Thank you for tuning in to the channel. We had a very exciting week with the Sean Diddy Combs trial. As I've told you guys many times before, I've been at this trial every day for 7 long weeks. What does that entail, folks? Requires me to get up at 3 o'clock every morning and go down to the city, which is an hour and a half commute, and then arrive at the courthouse by 6 o'clock to trade places with my line sitter. But now, folks, I no longer have to stand in line. I have access to the court. I'm very thankful for that opportunity. But I'm sure you see online where everyone is so excited because the last couple of days in court has been nothing short of a bombshell. We had the closing arguments by the prosecutors, which was very strong. And then we had the defense put on an incredible closing arguments that I think is going to have a great impact on this trial. But then the prosecutors, they hadn't had enough, folks, because they came back with Comey came back with 1 hour and 40 minutes. She basically did another direct cross or closing argument. She was supposed to do a rebuttal. I don't think she really tried to rebut anything. I think she came and did a review of the entire trial. She brought up things that most of us had probably forgotten. So we're going to unpack that a little bit. We have a guest tonight, or today rather. Let's see, it's 5 o'clock, so we'll say this evening. We have DJ Genesis. We're going to bring her on, and she has some questions lined up for me as we navigate through this. Welcome, DJ Genesis.
Hello, hello, hello. We have been doing this whole time. And, with our attorney, Calvin Johnson, he's been able to break things down. And we have a show tomorrow where he's going to break it down once again. But we wanted to, just give you something real quick to, kind of give you an idea of what's been going on. My question is, what are your sentiments so far? As how do you think that the trial, when it comes down to the closing arguments, has gone so far? Do you think that he might be?
Well, in my opinion, I feel like the government has laid down a very strong case. I know if you go online, many people are saying, oh, they haven't proven much. But I think for the most part, most people don't understand how the government works when it comes to a RICO charge. Most people don't understand where the first RICO charge came from, which involved Jack Johnson. So if you're not familiar with that story, you should go back and really understand how the government used the RICO to really corner him. He was a magnificent boxer going across state lines with a Caucasian lady. So the government was very crafty in putting together something that could bring him into the fold of the jail. And basically that's what we're seeing with Sean Diddy Combs. This RICO has 8 predicates that the government has lined out, and all they need is just 2. The jury, they laid out all of these predicate acts. The jury has to choose 2 that the defendant, Sean Puffy Combs, that he's committed these acts. He's shown a certain behavior or pattern over a 10-year period. And when they did the prosecution closing arguments, she broke down something that really threw me for a loop. She said that, let's say the first predicate act is drug distribution. So she said that one particular freak off, let's say they had 5 or 7 drugs, and some of them testified that there were that many drugs at one freak off. All you need, she says, you don't need all of those drugs. All you need is one. And guess what, folks? I had never heard this before. They said you don't even have to sell the drug. All you have to do is give somebody a drug and you committed a crime. So that's a predicate act. And then she really took it to another level. You know what she said, Genesis?
No, what did she say?
Hello, Genesis, you there? Okay. Basically, what they said is each freak off had drugs, and there were hundreds of freak offs. So all the jury has to choose is just 2 of these events, and you have a RICO or racketeering. But not only that, they took it to another level. They put up a picture of 27 of these particular male escorts. Okay, male escorts. They were actually. Let me fix that. I'm starting to talk like the people I'm reading online. They were dancers, right? They were hired as dancers. This is what if you go to the website for Cowboys and Angels, they're being put out there as dancers. However, as testified in court, they would be given money to graduate into these acts, these X acts. Okay, so it's really something to think about because when they show you those 27 individuals, folks, each of them could represent a predicate act. So you could choose one drug and one ex worker and a freak off night, and you have your racketeering. This is what they were laying out. Now, the judge did say that the lawyers, what they're saying does not serve as evidence. But what I'm saying to you is the government laid out those 8 predicate acts. That's just to break down the RICO or racketeering part. Then they went into sex trafficking with fraud, force, and coercion for Cassie. And then count number 3 was going across state lines to commit these acts. Okay. Then count number 4 was sex trafficking with force, fraud, or coercion for Jane. And then number 5, the charge is going across state lines with Jane. And also in the background, you have these workers. Genesis?
So the question is that okay? So
Okay, so I don't think
did
she's
they
here
bring
anymore,
all of?
or there
I'm
may be
here.
some
I'm here.
technical issues. So
Can you
let
hear
me
me?
just rock this thing out,
Can
okay?
you hear me? Can
I
you hear
guess
me?
there's a
Hello.
problem. So, first of all, I want to thank you guys for being here. I see in the audience, I have a lot of my particular same name, same people showing up every time. I love it. And I'm definitely going to be doing a lot for my moderators. So you guys stay tapped in with me. I see Bordox right off the gate. We see the Honorable Sakina Ra. Thank you. I see Nix. I remember her from the courthouse. Hi, Nick Shorts. I think you're out in Jersey, if I remember correctly. We got AM. What's going on? Yes, thank you. Thank you. Sharon is in the building. Man, I have so much support. Eric is in the house. Eric is my big time supporter here, and he keeps me ignited to keep pushing. Thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. One love. The system is fixed. After the defense, the jury should get instructions. Why give prosecutors another chance? Shout out to you, One Love. How in the world can you give the prosecutors another hour and 40 minutes after the defense, who is already, I feel, behind the 8 ball? Yeah, folks, they're behind the 8 ball. And you allow the prosecutors to go another hour and 40 minutes. And let me tell you, out of all the attorneys in the building, Comey is a heavy hitter. She's a very strong in her personality. Let me give you an example of what happened on Wednesday evening. They were finishing up with this agent, and we went through all of these charts. And let me tell you, they have a chart that they bring in, and it has people, places, and things. So you have the people in the room, they're described as being at a meeting. So even a freak off is actually a meeting. So in one particular instance, they highlight the column. And folks, I don't have any notes. I'm just going off the top of my head. This is what happens when I sit in a courtroom all day, right behind Diddy for every day of the trial. But in the meeting, they show you that, let's say the freak off that has Diddy, Cassie, and Jules. Jules is the worker that was there for the video that we saw from CNN when Diddy is coming down the hallway, Cassie behind Cassie. So you have those 3 people. But let me tell you how the government works to prove these predicates and also to prove each statute, right? They prove the elements. They show you and they pull it up. They have the technology. It's so amazing, man. They show you Diddy's American Express. They show you Jules flies from JFK. They still have his flight number, people. Yeah. 2009, they still have his flight number. They show you his itinerary. He flew from JFK to LA. Like, how in the world can you get around that when they show you the definition for um, ex trafficking over state lines? Okay. And they show you so many different times that this occurred, but I'm just talking about one. They show you the metadata from the hotel cameras that shows Jules showed up in the lobby, walking through. They show you text messages amongst all of the people who they claim are in an enterprise. So they show you KK arranging for Jules to get from the airport to the hotel. These are company vehicles. Like, are you guys with me? The government is not playing games. Does it mean that they're going to totally win this case? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you that they are setting a standard here. And now, this is the part that really blew me away about the case, right? For proving a one man RICO, do you know who they used to establish the precedent for Diddy? They used Kelly versus the government. So they used R. Kelly. R. Kelly was the first one man band RICO. I call it a one man band RICO. And they're using his case to establish why they should give Diddy 30 years to life. Yeah, that's basically where we're going with this. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to give him 30 years to life. Forget about what people are saying online. I'm just telling you, this is where they're headed. They would, one of the things that Comey said when she gave her closing arguments, and it really hit me hard. You know what she said? She said, yeah, he was number one on the Forbes list, almost like he won't be the number one guy on the Forbes list ever again. You have to listen when people talk. Evidently, Diddy being number one on the Forbes list is a catalyst behind some of the things that we see, right? Now, that's me putting in a little touch there, but it's something that I heard. It rung a bell with me. Like this was an issue to them that he was the number one on the Forbes list. He had all this money and he could do whatever he wanted to do. So they broke down the 8 predicates. Let me tell you. First, let me tell you how bad it is out here with the media. How many of you guys, now I'm asking you a personal question. I really need, for the 40 people that are watching, I really need your participation. How many of you heard someone say that they dropped Diddy charges? You heard that the other night, right? Yeah, of course you did, right? They did not drop his charges. You know what they did? They dropped the charges that had attempted arson, attempted aiding and abetting ex trafficking, attempted kidnapping. You know why? They dropped those because they wanted to get rid of the fluff. But the underlying charges, they went through in court the next day for the closing arguments, folks. I'm telling you what I know. So they still have kidnapping. They still have arson. They broke it down in court. They still have sex trafficking. And not only do they have sex trafficking under the RICO, folks, I'm breaking it down for you. They have sex trafficking under the RICO. That's not the sex trafficking for count 2 and count 4. So they're giving him a double whammy when it comes to the sex trafficking. It's really something to think about. Now, Diddy did a lot of things that were wrong. You know, it's come out in court that he was basically a monster. He was a drug addict. He also had some mental issues. I mean, they didn't hold back from telling us that. That's his personal issue. But the defense came in and they really argued those points at a high level. Now, I'll tell you something. I'll give you guys a personal touch from my own point of view. Right before court started, I'm sitting in the church pews, I call it, the little hard wooden chairs in the courthouse. And I told somebody, I said, listen, the only shot, the lady sitting in front of me, I said, the only shot that Diddy has to win this case, right? Because I have no dog in the fight. I'm just here as an observer. I'm trying to bring you guys the truth because people just make up all the nonsense, right? But I told her, I said, his attorney is going to have to attack the government and say that they came after him with a witch hunt. That's what I told him. I said, that's the only way. If he doesn't go there, he he might be in for a long ride, right? Do you know that that's exactly what his attorney did? His attorney broke it down. I could not believe it. His attorney, Agnifilo, he was reprimanded by the judge because the prosecutors jumped on his rear end because he did attack the government. He says to the jury, you cannot trust the government. And do you know the argument that he used to establish that point? He said, Cassie didn't go running to the Southern District of New York to report that Diddy had committed a crime. Neither did Jane. In fact, these women, they still love him. Um, Cassie got her money. She got 20 million. And he brought it out. He says, listen, Cassie won. She got her 20 million. Diddy is sitting in jail. But he says the government, because of Cassie's civil suit, targeted Diddy and came after him. And boy, oh boy, did the judge come down on Diddy's attorney. But he had already rung the bell, folks. As they say, the damage was done. Now the jury can understand that, listen, this case is something special. It's special in the regards that you have the government coming after a guy that's a billionaire and they're painting him to be like a mob boss. So I want you guys, I have to get on a train. I'm going to an event I'm going to be covering Diddy's family tonight. For an event, they they really like me as a journalist, so I get invited to these places, and then I come back and I report it to you. I'll try to go live if it's not going to, be too much for them. Okay, but there's an event. I'm going to New York City, but I want to paint a picture for you guys. Right? We're going to call this guy Frank the Butcher. Okay, Frank the Butcher. He's a big time mob boss. Okay, now think about this with the Rico in mind. Frank the Butcher is a big time mob boss. He lives upstate New York in Rochester. He's running a criminal enterprise in New York City. Okay, he's making money, millions a year selling drugs. Right, right. You see it in the movies. I'm pretty sure you've seen a mafia movie, right? His men, his henchmen, are killing other family bosses, members, and even the boss too. We'll call them the Soprano Enterprise. So you have Frank, the Butcher Enterprise, and then you have the other enterprise number two. They're competing, making money, killing each other, and all of that. That's what they use the RICO for. Okay? They use the RICO. So listen, when you hear about Frank the Butcher getting arrested, and they use that RICO because the RICO is for a man or a woman who's running an enterprise from afar, getting all the money and acting like they're the pastor in the church. They're squeaky clean. So that RICO, when they put that RICO on you, the conspiracy part can tie him in without getting his every little detail of what he did. That's why you hear about the mob bosses going away. In this case with Diddy, my argument is just this: the crime does not fit the time that he might get. Let me explain. He's going to get the time, 30 years to life, probably, if they come back and hit him with this RICO, with no blood on his hand that we know about. The only thing he's had on his hand is baby oil and Astroglide. That's the simple part of this. Now, obviously, he committed crimes, he did some things, but the RICO part, many people who have attended this trial feel that it's overkill, overdoing it, because now he's going to get that 30, just like R. Kelly, he's going to get that 30 to life, more than likely. Yeah, that's a lot. Without being a true crime mob boss, he was basically, as the defense showed, he was basically running his organization. Now, there's a lot of issues with the case. There's a lot of things the defense attorney did not touch on. I could have went up there and argued a few points before the jury. And I'm just here because I'm intrigued. I love to debate and argue. I wish I could have instructed or helped him close out on a few points. he did not touch. He never really touched the whole issue about Bonner. Bonner explained that on September 26, 2016, that Diddy had her hanging. He came into the apartment, Cassie's apartment, had her hanging off the balcony, took her and threw her down on the furniture and so forth. In court, it came out. Diddy's African American sharp attorney, I tell you, Nicole Westmoreland, she broke down that Diddy was actually in New York staying at the Trump Plaza during that exact same time. If I was the attorney, I would have hit that hard. That's something you want to show. And the reason why I would have hit it hard is because this girl that testified, she said that basically her and Cassie made up that story. They Cassie filed her lawsuit, and Bonner and Cassie basically put the story together. It came out. They're basically saying, "Oh, the hotel has a balcony. Maybe we should say the hotel." No, it was at my apartment. My apartment has a balcony on the 17th floor. So they put these stories together. So if Cassie, if she's testifying that Cassie helped her put a story together, then how many more stories were made up? Now I'm not taken away from the fact that people were abused and things. The defense has owned that. So let's just make that clear. I don't want to support anybody from a standpoint of abusing women, children, anybody for that fact. But the case is the case. And I'm just trying to tell you that the defense left a lot of meat on the bone, on the table. Or the defense attorney says, I'm not going to go through these vulgar explicit text messages that Cassie had sent Diddy. You should have went there, brother, because they were terrible and they show her intent to be a big part of these freak offs just as much as Diddy on certain occasions. Or you should have played the video where Cassie is threatening to kill her friend because he has a video on his phone allegedly that one of the freak offs that got out and somehow he obtained it. And Cassie's like, I will kill you. I will bury you. I will have someone kill you. See, all of that establishes that would have been a stronger point for the defense, is what I'm saying. But the defense did a great job because they did show that the government came and they targeted Diddy. And not only that, they're making him sit in the same seat as R. Kelly. And we know that R. Kelly had some major issues or what have you. I did not follow that case as strongly as I did with Diddy being there every day. I also went to Donald Trump's trial. I followed that trial as well. But I'm just saying the defense did a pretty good job. But when a man is looking at 30 years to life, you have to pull out all the stops. And I'm not sure if they hit the mark, right? Now, this is my concern. Comey came back after he did, Agnifilo gave his closing arguments, and she went an hour and a half and she reiterated all those points, each and every little thing. And she is like a surgeon when it comes to the law. She never stutters, people. The lady is terrifying. If you're in trouble, you do not want to have to go before her. They had 6 women there, but believe me, 6 women against Diddy, and he had his strong legal team. All you needed was Comey because she is at a high level with precision in proving predicate acts and all these other things. She's like a walk-in dictionary, and that's a big problem. But we'll have to see how the case goes. I think there's a strong possibility that a few people on the jury might just dig in their heels and say not guilty because the argument that Agnifilo did make was that powerful. And he hit the mark that I was hoping he would hit because he's showing, wait a minute, why are they targeting Diddy? I mean, can you imagine an attorney come in there and tell the jury, yeah, this is what the guy did? I mean, for that, he gets a high grade in my regard when you're trying to protect your client, right? He does. He says you cannot trust the government. They have bad motives. And it really set the judge off. It took a lot for him to do that. But basically, that's it, folks. So this case can truly go anyway, but I will tell you the government did prove their predicates and their elements. Um, so we'll have to see just how this uh, translate with the jury and what happens next. But I just wanted to come on briefly. Like I said, I'm covering an event for the family today. I'm honored that out of all the people that are around, some for some reason I'm being chosen to be in these places and cover the story, and that the family feel like that I'm a person that's true and honest, and I'm not gonna try to do some conniving and salacious nonsense in regards to their name and so forth. So being in an independent zone like this, it's very unique because you meet a lot of people, but your reputation is everything. And I'm not just here to make up stories just to be able to come back and tell you just any old thing. All right. So that's it. Wait a minute. Did Genesis come back or what? Let me see. Genesis, you back? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I guess not.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello, hello. You can't hear
All
me?
right. So next time, folks, we'll do that. So going into, let me tell you what's going to happen. Monday morning, I'm going to go down to court again. Thankfully, I have access to the courtroom. Also, I have access for a big case coming up. It's already in the works for Luigi Mangione, I believe his last name is. So I'll be covering that case for you. There's another case with Laka, some guy, this probably drill rapper. He's going to be, his verdict is coming. I'm going to cover that in 3 weeks. Also, I'm going to cover Fat Joe, cover Tyler Perry. I'm going to cover a lot of good cases. I like covering the cases because we have the transcripts and they help to keep us honest. And I don't want to say anything that may be inaccurate or bring harm to somebody's name because at the end of the day, you are your name, right? Your name will probably carry you further than money in life. So that's why it's important that we stay honest, especially when we're talking about people's lives. And that's why when it comes to this case, I have 2 minutes left. A lot of the things that I heard about Diddy, and Diddy did a lot, and he needs to stand and be judged according to what he did do. But throwing on all the extras is going to be a problem because one day maybe you won't be here, but your offspring might have to sit in that seat to where the government is coming into your bedroom, showing your videos. Hell, the way this is going, they might put cameras in your bedroom. Yeah, it's real serious. But a lot of us, we don't understand how things work, so we don't look at it on that level. But I see it, and they're using R. Kelly for Diddy, and then Diddy, they're going to use all this bedroom activity and flying women here and there, your girlfriend or what have you, flying them and buying them dinner in a hotel room. Eventually, people are going to sit in the seat and be judged, and they're going to call that ex trafficking. That's where we're headed. I'm just giving you guys the facts. Here's another thing in this case, right? You're going to have to face it as a man. They use the fact that Jane Doe, in her personal diary, she wrote that Diddy was basically a pathological liar. The defense tried hard to keep the prosecutors from using that because it showed that Diddy defrauded her. He was lying to her, people. So, in other words, Diddy would say, "Come and let me wine and dine you." And believe me, the guy had so much money. His whining and dining is nothing like the average Joe. But he would say, "Come and let me wine and dine you." She was living far away. He had to fly her to Miami. She get to Miami. They show while she's on the airplane, Diddy is already, he's telling her, "I'm going to wine and dine you." Simultaneously, he's already telling a worker, one of these guys, to come and knock her down. So they said that this is defrauding her because you're lying about a material fact. And listen, the case is ending. I'm going to tell you guys this. The case is ending probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, right? I don't think it's going to take a long time for them to make up their mind. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to cover this trial like you've never seen before. and I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to show you guys the transcripts and different exhibits from the case so you can actually see how this thing all came together bit by bit. And I have some attorneys, and also I have a legal analyst. Her name is Candace Kelly. She's top notch. And we're going to really break this stuff down so you can really understand how Diddy got into the place that he, where he's at right now. So thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, I have to get on the train, head to New York City for an event uh, around the whole Diddy case on a Saturday night. So I'll try to go live and bring you guys some of the scenery so you can see what's going down. All right. Thank you for tuning in. Listen, I appreciate each and every one of you. I even appreciate the trolls. I say, bring it on. I'm a very strong man. Right. That's right. I'm my own man. I don't work for anybody. So I don't work for any big corporation. You can keep your money. I don't need it. I'm well established. All right. So that's the key here, guys. To stay independent and tell the truth and keep your reality, because I met so many people during this case, they have to say what the man told them to say. And what I learned about the big corporations that tell you the media, once they say that they're going to say Diddy's guilty, they're going to keep that same narrative the whole time. It doesn't matter what comes out, they're going to keep pushing that narrative. And anybody they bring on their network has to be in cahoots with that, or they're going to kick you right out of there, folks. This is just how it works. So I learned a lot about this case, but I'm going to continue to cover cases, and I'll do so independently. And I will be very unapologetic about it because I feel that I'm offering a solid story and solid facts about real cases, cases that you want to know. And you don't want to know all the bullshit like people saying that Kamala Harris was on the stand today. Kamala Harris, what does she have to do with a Diddy case? They say, oh, Barack Obama was on the stand. No. What they said about Barack Obama is that Diddy had some purple pills of ecstasy, and the pills were shaped in the head of Barack Obama. All right? But he did not walk into the court. If he did, I would have tried to shake his hand because I'm a big fan. Shout out to everybody that support me. I have to go now, guys, and I will be back soon. Shout out to DJ Genesis. Not sure what happened to you, but we will have you back on. I appreciate you guys, and I'll continue to cover this case and any other case that you guys find intriguing. I will cover Carmelo Anthony. I think that's a very important case to cover. If it requires me to fly there, I'm going, folks. Just what I do. Thank you and good night. And maybe I'll see you in a couple hours.